And so it kind of works backwards from that initial great idea that you have to have before you can start, you know. So if I don't have a great idea, I can't even do the show.
Well, but one of the things I think is fascinating, your shows, and it was true of Seinfeld too, have plots that tend to be very dense. A lot is happening, and you then bring it together at the end. I mean, is that like something you consciously are doing all along, like saying, well, I'll weave this, and then at the end I'll come to this end point?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's a very challenging thing to pull off, but...
It is. I first started doing it on Seinfeld, and I actually even remember the moment that it happened. It was in the Busboy episode. It was one of the very early shows, like the 6th or 7th show that we did. And Elaine was with this guy from Seattle. She wanted to get rid of him. And then George, the busboy, set the table on fire or something, you know. And then all of a sudden the busboy met the guy from Seattle in the hall, and they had a fight. I thought, oh, hey, the busboy can meet this guy in the hall. Well, you know, this is not, I don't think this is a new writing convention, but it's the first time it ever happened to me. So I kind of like that. And then that coupled with the fact that I had 4 people on the cast who I needed to keep happy.
Right.
I couldn't stand the actors kind of sulking around on weeks when they didn't have much to do. And they would sulk. So I thought, I'm going to give them all something really juicy every week so these guys can be happy, I'll be happy. And so all of a sudden I started to write 3 stories and then 4 stories. And even if I wasn't writing 3 or 4 stories, I had something for them to do, even if it was 2 or 3 stories. Everybody had something. And then once I got 4 stories going and I was juggling the 4 stories, I somehow saw ways, and it's divine intervention a lot, you know, that I could get them all together somehow. And it feels like if you're working with really good ideas, that somehow they'll find a way to say hello. You know.
Well, then, and now this is what you continue to do, I think, on this show. You've done the same kind of thing. You start out with some element of a show and it goes off in another direction, but somehow it comes back together. It seems to me that must be a strain sometimes, though, writing that. Do you find that? Or?
No, that's not a strain. What's a strain is, you know, the first season we didn't do an arc on the show.
Right.
We just had, every episode was independent of every other episode. And then the second season, I put in a little bit of an arc. That means an arc, for those of you not in TV, it's a story that goes from the first episode all the way through the last episode. Like last year, we did the kidney and the adoption.
Correct.
We had 2. Right. We had 2 arcs.
2 arcs.
The year before, we had the producers and the 10th anniversary present. Right. Also 2 arcs. But so these are being wove through the season. Yeah. What's hard, and the year before that, we had the restaurant story. But what's really hard, you know, now that you brought it up, is that it's hard to make each show independent and have them stand on their own and also keep that arc alive.
Yeah.
You know, I could give you many examples of how I was tortured over various shows.
Give us one.
Okay, well, the second show, last season, I had to, because we didn't know, I had to keep the adoption story going in the second show, because at the end of the first show, you knew that...
Your father said...
At least I thought in my mind that I might be adopted, that he told me that I was adopted. Right. So, I knew I had to hire a private investigator in the second show, so I had to incorporate hiring the private investigator into make a whole show out of that. That's not really an idea for a show, hiring a private investigator. That's not a show, you know. That's not funny, you know. So I had to kind of figure out a way that I could incorporate that idea into a show, and then I had the racist dog idea, and somehow, then I thought, well, if he's a black Muslim, you know, you know what I mean. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Well, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people really are amazed at, is that the shows that you have done, and especially the ones that are classics that we all remember, come up with such interesting ideas and things you would think nobody is necessarily going to think of. So,
Well, that's the key.
well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key. You want ideas that you feel like nobody else is going to think of.
Right. But I wonder why you think of it, like how you think. Like, for example, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, I'd like to know, too.
I'll give you an example. For example, have you ever been like stuck in traffic and thought, I wish I was in the carpool lane, and so therefore you had that whole carpool idea? Did that come up in that sort of way, perhaps, or no?
No.
No.
No, that actually was an idea that two friends of mine came up with and gave to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that wasn't even my idea.
Even your idea, okay. Well, how about connecting the Holocaust survivor to the survivor?
You know, we just talked about an idea that somebody else couldn't come up with. I couldn't believe that nobody else had come up with that idea.
So,
I mean, I was just sitting there. Please do something. A survivor, and there's a show called Survivors.
yeah.
It was tailor-made.
Yeah.
Well, one of my all-time favorite episodes, too, by the way.
Oh, fantastic episode.
Yeah.
Fantastic. How about, I don't want to go through all of them, but how about killing off your mother? Which,
I was in Hawaii on a vacation, and I think my father called me, you know, said my mother was ill or something like that, you know. Then I started thinking that she wouldn't want to ruin my vacation. Died, having me pack up and go to her funeral. She wouldn't want that. I know it, you know.
Right.
She would not, my mother would not want me to do that. So I thought, I've got to kill my mother. Yeah.
and then, of course, take advantage of that. The fact that
That I didn't realize was going to happen until I started writing.
Everyone you told would then accommodate anything you wanted because
Right, exactly.
your mother had just
I
died.
was going to argue with that, yeah.
And how did your mother feel about this? Is your mother around still?
She's around. I didn't hear from my mother. She's not quite all there, but...
Well, I remember that, didn't your mother, when you were writing the finale of Seinfeld, give you a hard time about it?
What was it? Yeah, the one where the Susan died, right? From
Yeah.
the envelopes, licking the envelopes.
Yes.
Yeah. Why did you have to kill that girl, Larry? What's the matter with you? Why did you do that to her?
She liked her.
Well, my father was upset about. That's the only episode he's been upset about that I know of. Was the one where I killed my mother.
He was upset about that.
He was
He let you know about that.
He was upset. Yeah, I could tell in his tone. Yeah. And I don't think he liked. I don't think he liked the last show of this season where I died and went to
He didn't like that, huh?
No.
No? Because?
I think he was a
A
little
little creeped out by that.
creeped
You
out
don't
by
get
that.
that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you think there is hair in heaven?
Well, you know what? If there's a heaven, there's hair. Wouldn't you think that you're at your best self in heaven? Yeah.
I would think so.
Right.
I was hoping for height in heaven.
Yeah.
So,
You'll get it.
You'll
get it.
but since you brought, I think the move to HBO has been interesting because clearly you can do more. I would think you can do more than you could ever do at NBC, and you've really pushed that in kind of interesting ways. But have you heard any complaints about? Now, your dad didn't like that show, but
Yeah.
other complaints from people saying, "How can you do that? You can't. That's you deal with religion, and you've dealt with race and incest and pretty interesting topics."
Not really. There was one negative article where somebody said, "How can you make fun of your father-in-law's religion?" You know.
Right.
Which was ridiculous. I wasn't making fun of his religion, and even if I was, so what? You know, it's a comedy. Religion should be made fun of. It's quite ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, think how people spend their lives. I have no idea that they go around as if this is a fact. It's so insane, you know. If I really believed that stuff, I'd keep it to myself. Let somebody think I was out of my mind.